Eating Melon Fairy. Chapter 1, Accidental Crossing. On an ordinary night, Jian Yao was sitting in her small apartment eating snacks and watching mobile phone episodes idly. Suddenly, the screen of her phone flashed, and a blinding light enveloped her. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself standing in a strange place. The surrounding scene was quite quaint, and the surroundings seemed to be filled with a strong aura. It's... where? Jian Yao was shocked, and before she could react, a cold voice came from her mind. Congratulations to the host, you have successfully crossed to the cultivation realm, and you have set up the melon eating check-in system. Please pay attention to completing the daily tasks and exchange the final prize. What? Through? Eating melons? What's the situation? Jian Yao's eyes widened, and she didn't react at all. The system's voice continued to sound coldly. Host, you have now crossed into the cultivation realm, and the system will provide guidance to help you complete your mission. The daily task is eating melons, that is, watching the various intrigues, love and hatred in the cultivation realm, and completing the check-in. You will get the corresponding points. Completion points can be redeemed for the ultimate award, the True Love Elixir, which will allow you to become the strongest existence in the cultivation realm. What True Love Elixir? Jian Yao's eyes widened, obviously not interested in this True Love Elixir, but the word eating melons attracted her attention. Eating melons? Is it the kind of melon that eats melons when watching dramas? The voice of the system was merciless. That's right, you just need to eat melons and complete the task. Note, please be careful of your hidden voice while completing the task, otherwise it may cause unexpected situations. Voice. Jian Yao was shocked, but she didn't have time to delve into this issue. She looked around and found herself standing in a strange village, surrounded by ancient architecture and aura, which seemed to be the seat of some sect of cultivation. Alright, the first mission is about to begin. Please approach the local little brother Bai Yue Guang, observe and record his relationship with the dog's blood sadomasochism, and complete the check-in. The cold voice of the system sounded again, and Jian Yao had doubts in her heart. She didn't have time to understand the background of this little brother Bai Yue Guang, but the system had already issued clear instructions. Jian Yao muttered silently, I'll just think the plot has begun. Why is this cultivation realm so much like a big drama? Chapter 2, The First Melon. Jian Yao came to a small hill, which happened to overlook the place where Bai Yue Guang's junior brother cultivated. She quietly hides behind a big tree, ready to start her first melon eating. That little brother Bai Yue Guang, named Yunche, is a handsome man dressed in green clothes and eyebrows like distant mountains, and his cultivation is extraordinary. According to the system's mission guidelines, his relationship with a certain female disciple seems to be very complicated, full of love and hatred. Jian Yao planned to quietly observe and see how this sadomasochistic relationship would develop. However, when Yunche met the female disciple, a girl named Soli, Jian Yao had a strange feeling in her heart. Soli looks gentle and virtuous, although she has a weak appearance, she has a determined look in her eyes, which makes people unconsciously want to protect her. Senior brother Yun, where have you been during this time? I've been waiting for you. Soli's voice carried a hint of sadness, and tears glistened in her eyes. Soli, you don't have to ask these things anymore, the fate of the two people has long been doomed. Yunche's tone was low, and his eyes seemed to be full of helplessness. When Jian Yao saw this scene at this time, her heart shook suddenly. She inadvertently discovered that she was not only eating melons, but also an invisible emotion was pulled into it. Just as she was about to turn on her phone and punch these episodes to the system issued a warning. Warning, the host's voice has leaked out, and has been detected by those around it. Please be careful to hide your inner emotions to avoid unnecessary trouble. What? My heart leaked out? Jian Yao's eyes widened in panic, and before she could react, she felt two pairs of eyes staring directly at her. Who are you? Soli asked coldly, her eyes like ice. Jian Yao panicked, and then pretended to be casual and walked out of the back of the tree. Oh, I'm just to see the scenery. However, Soli's gaze did not relax, she seemed to sense something unusual. You're peeking at us? Soli asked coldly. Jian Yao was stunned for a moment, and a panicked emotion surged up in her heart. She knew she might have caused a huge misunderstanding. At this time, she could only bite the bullet and say, no, I just passing by accidentally. Passing by. A sneer appeared in Soli's eyes. So, how did you hear the conversation between us? Jian Yao almost felt that she was trapped and couldn't get out. At this time, the cold voice of the system sounded again. Host, you have completed the first check-in mission, please receive the mission award, a golden melon fruit. Please continue to complete other tasks. Gourd. Jian Yao's eyes widened, this award is too strange. But the current situation made her have no time to think, and Soli seemed to begin to increase her tone. What the hell are you doing here? I'm just eating melons. Jian Yao muttered in a low voice, and before she could finish speaking, the system reminded again. Warning, the leakage of the host's hidden voice has triggered the Traverser label, please proceed with caution. Traverser. Jian Yao was stunned, and a strong sense of crisis suddenly surged in her heart, and now, she seemed to be really in big trouble. Chapter 3, A Storm of Misunderstanding. Jian Yao knew that this turmoil would not end so easily. Soli's eyes showed a hint of coldness. Did you know something that you shouldn't know? What? I don't know anything. Jian Yao was almost about to collapse. This misunderstanding was escalating, and she was a little unable to deal with it. However, Soli's expression became more and more solemn. Now that you know, then there is nothing to hide. At this moment, another figure suddenly appeared, breaking the deadlock. Yunche walked slowly, his gaze swept over Jian Yao, and then said coldly, she is just passing by, there is no need to be so strict with her. Soli was stunned for a moment, then took a few steps back, his expression indifferent. Jian Yao was happy in her heart, although she didn't know what would happen next, but this moment seemed to have become an unexpected turning point for her. Her first melon did not end in the way she expected, but caused an unexpected turmoil, and even made her start to be full of more curiosity and expectations about the cultivation world she was in. This road of eating melons no longer seems to be so simple. Chapter 4, The Mystery that Unfolds Step by Step. Jian Yao found that her road to eating melons in this world was far more complicated than she imagined, and even full of danger. And the little brother Bai Yueguang named Yunche seems to be hiding a secret that she never knew, and behind Soli, there is also an unknown tragedy. Eating melons, a game she thought was just watching other people's emotional dramas, turned out to be an opportunity for her to enter a thrilling world of cultivation. Chapter 5, The Consequences of the Leakage of the Heart. Although Jian Yao had successfully completed the first eating melon task, this misunderstanding did not end so easily. Yunche's appearance not only solved her predicament, but also brought another layer of unforeseen problems. Although Soli didn't embarrass her anymore, there was a hint of vigilance in her eyes, obviously not completely trusting Jian Yao's existence. Jian Yao, on the other hand, felt like a rootless duckweed. In this strange cultivation realm, she could be swept into a deeper whirlpool at any time. System, did I just have something wrong? Jian Yao asked helplessly. The system responded coldly, Host, you have triggered the voice leakage mechanism, which will make you extremely suspicious in the eyes of some people in the cultivation world. In order to avoid causing more trouble, please hide your emotions and stop eating melons. I see. Jian Yao touched her head, but she was still a little entangled in her heart. She originally just wanted to see the emotional entanglements of those masters, but she accidentally broke into this inextricable whirlpool. As time went by, Jian Yao began to discover that her road to eating melons was not as simple as gossip. Every observation, every punch in and out, seems to have triggered some kind of chain reaction. Behind these plots, there are deep mysteries that she could not have foreseen. This time, the target of her mission was another important figure in the cultivation realm, Cloud Dust. Yunchen and Yunche have a delicate relationship, they used to be brothers, but years of estrangement have made this relationship seem particularly treacherous. Jian Yao's mission is to understand the love-hate relationship between Yunchen and a mysterious woman, Lu Ruyan. This relationship is not as simple as she has seen in the past. Lu Ruyan is a legendary woman who is said to have amazing talents, but because of a misunderstanding, her relationship with Yunchen ended. The two have been separated for many years, but they have never forgotten each other. Jian Yao's task is to stand next to eat melons and observe whether they will rebuild the old good. Senior brother Yunchen, how have you been doing all these years? Lu Ruyan's voice sounded in Jian Yao's ears, with a hint of helplessness. Ruyan, where have you been all these years? Why don't you contact me? There was a hint of sorrow in Yunchen's voice, and the moment his eyes looked at Lu Ruyan, it seemed to hide endless emotions. Jian Yao witnessed this emotional confrontation again, and couldn't help but secretly admire in her heart, everything here was really full of drama. But just as she was about to check in, the system's warning sound sounded again, warning, the host's voice has leaked out, and it has been detected by Lu Ruyan. Why is it leaking out again? Jian Yao was a little broken, she hurriedly turned around, trying to dodge, but found that Lu Ruyan was already standing behind her, her eyes full of doubts. You heard me? Lu Ruyan's tone was cold, with a hint of vigilance in her eyes. Jian Yao took a step back nervously, panicking in her heart. This time, she finally understood that she had already fallen into a predicament. Chapter 6, The Hidden Past. Lu Ruyan's gaze was like ice, staring at Jian Yao deadly. Who the hell are you? Why do you keep eavesdropping on the sidelines? Jian Yao's heart was beating faster, and she knew that she could no longer escape this question, so she had to explain hard, I just came here to check in. Punch in. Lu Ruyan's brows furrowed slightly, obviously confused by this explanation. What are you doing in the cultivation realm? Jian Yao hesitated for a moment, felt irritable in her heart, and finally decided to confess, I'm here to do a melon-eating mission. Her tone was a little stiff, but she felt that it was better to say it than to be found out. Melon-eating mission. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan suddenly showed a meaningful smile. I see. You're just an outside observer. Jian Yao breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that Lu Ruyan didn't seem to have the intention of asking further. She was overjoyed, but she heard Lu Ruyan whisper again, since you came here to eat melons, then, tell me, do you know what happened between me and Yunchen? Jian Yao was slightly stunned, and said secretly in her heart, is this really eating melons? Is this an emotional entanglement? Still, she replied, I just saw some fragments, not the full story. Lu Ruyan looked at her and didn't seem to fully believe it. Since this is the case, then, the result of eating melons is, you know, but you don't say anything. There was a hint of defiantness and an inexplicable smile in her eyes. Jian Yao was a little puzzled, but she knew in her heart that this eating melon was far more complicated than she initially expected. She began to understand that the cultivation realm she was in was not just as simple as watching a play, and she was gradually becoming a part of it. Chapter 7, The Secret Mission. Lu Ruyan's words made Jian Yao can't help but start to reflect, what is her existence in this world? Is her melon-eating mission really just a simple observation? Or is she destined to be embroiled in these tangled love-hate relationships? At this moment, the system's voice sounded again, Host, you have completed the current eating melons task and received the task award, Golden Sword Talisman. Please continue with the following tasks. Golden Sword Talisman. Jian Yao looked down at the talisman in her hand. It turned out to be a mysterious talisman that could help her improve her cultivation. Her eyes widened, and she was a little shocked. It seems that if it goes on like this, it seems that it is not as simple as eating melons. She couldn't help muttering, as if the system had already arranged more trials for her. She stood in front of Lu Ruyan, secretly thinking about what to do next. The situation in the cultivation realm was far more complicated than she expected, and every step she took seemed to be constantly changing the direction of this world. She couldn't help but ask herself, where would all this lead her? Chapter 8, The Vortex of Peril. As the eating melons mission continued, Jian Yao found it more and more difficult to withdraw. The relationship between her and Yunche, Lu Ruyan, and Yunchen became more and more complicated, and she even began to discover that this seemingly easy trip to eating melons hid a more thrilling conspiracy than she could understand. She began to realize that she was no longer a mere observer, but had become an inescapable character in this world of cultivation. Chapter 9, The Truth of the Gradual Collapse. At this time, Jian Yao was no longer simply eating melons. She gradually realized that she had become a variable in this world of cultivation that could not be ignored. Every time she punches in, every time she completes a task, it seems that she is invisibly pushing a huge conspiracy, and she herself has become a pawn in it. She realized that the emotional entanglement between Yunche, Lu Ruyan, and Yunchen was not as simple as it seemed. Hidden behind it turned out to be a game full of lies, betrayals, and crises. On this day, Jian Yao received a notification from the system again, Host, the next task is, to gain an in-depth understanding of the secret past between Yunche and Lu Ruyan, and find out the contradictions in it, and complete the check-in. Jian Yao's heart sank. This task was obviously not simple. She knew that if she continued to dig deeper, she might reveal some secrets that she shouldn't have known. She recalled Lu Ruyan's mysterious smile before, the deep meaning hidden in those eyes. It seems that it is not only wary of her as an outsider, but also some kind of indescribable emotional bond. What should I do? Jian Yao muttered to herself in a low voice. She knew that if she continued to fulfill this task, she would no longer be able to remain neutral and would be completely involved in this intricate emotional entanglement. However, in any case, the voice of the system will not give her any choice. Host, please complete the task as soon as possible, otherwise the current points will be deducted. Okay, since that. Jian Yao took a deep breath and decided to move on. She went straight to the secrets of Yunche and Lu Ruyan's past. Chapter 10, Broken Memory. When Jian Yao came to that ancient valley again, everything here remained the same. The secluded hut where Yunche and Lu Ruyan once spent together is still quiet and lonely. Jian Yao tiptoed closer, her heart beating faster. She knew that once she entered this place, she would uncover a past related to life and death. Lu Ruyan seemed to have expected her to come, and the moment Jian Yao walked into the hut, Lu Ruyan's figure quietly appeared, standing at the door, as if waiting for her arrival. You're finally here. Lu Ruyan's tone was calm, even with a hint of helplessness, as if he had already foreseen this moment. Jian Yao was stunned for a moment, her heart moved, and she thought, how did she know that I would come? What are you here for? Lu Ruyan's gaze is deep, as if he can see everything. Jian Yao forced her composure and said, I'm just here to understand the past between you and Yunche. Lu Ruyan smiled lightly, with a hint of bitterness in her smile, so, since you already know a little, why do you still ask? Jian Yao was slightly stunned. She originally just wanted to find out some secrets from the past, but she didn't expect Lu Ruyan to have already seen through her thoughts. Yunche and I are long in the past. There was a hint of mockery in Lu Ruyan's tone, but an indescribable sadness flashed in his eyes. Jian Yao suddenly felt an inexplicable pressure, her heartbeat became more rapid, and this seemingly simple task of eating melons became so heavy in an instant. Lu Ruyan continued, "What you want to know is, why are we separated? Or do you want to know Yunche's true face?" Jian Yao's heart was shocked, and she immediately understood that what she was facing was no longer an ordinary emotional entanglement, but a conspiracy related to the fate of the entire cultivation realm. She took a deep breath and asked, "Yunche, what's going on?" Lu Ruyan's eyes became extremely deep, as if she was recalling a painful past. "Yunche and I were childhood sweethearts. His father was the head of one of the most powerful sects in our cultivation realm, and I was the sole heir of that sect. However, fate has left us in a spiral of separation." Jian Yao listened quietly. Lu Ruyan's story made her feel the heaviness of this past. "I used to love Yunche and was even willing to give up everything for him. However, in a battle for the sect, Yunche betrayed me. In order to fight for control of the sect, he even teamed up with the person I trusted the most and kicked me away, making me an enemy of the cultivation realm." "You?" Jian Yao couldn't help but be stunned. She didn't expect that there was such a deep conspiracy hidden behind this love. Lu Ruyan smiled indifferently. "Do you think it's just love and hate? No, it's a tragedy staged for the sake of power. And I became the biggest victim of that tragedy." Jian Yao was silent, a little shocked in her heart. She didn't know who she should trust, whether Yunche's betrayal was really as Lu Ruyan said, or was all this just the prejudice of Lu Ruyan's side. She began to wonder if she was also controlled by some kind of force in this melon-eating mission. "Do you still have questions?" Lu Ruyan looked at her with a hint of provocation in her tone. Jian Yao took a deep breath and finally spoke, "So, now Yunche, he. Do I still love you?" A trace of complicated emotion flashed in Lu Ruyan's eyes, but she didn't answer immediately, but lowered her head, as if struggling. After a while, she finally spoke, "Maybe, but love is no longer our only bond. Nowadays, the situation in the cultivation realm is more important than love. And Yunche is no longer the person I knew at the beginning." After Jian Yao heard this, she was even more puzzled in her heart. The truth of all this seemed to be far more complicated and confusing than she expected. And he can't get out no matter what. Every time she eats melons, there are more mysteries hidden behind it, but she is deeply involved in it. Chapter 11, Uncovering the Truth. As Jian Yao's understanding of Yunche and Lu Ruyan became deeper and deeper, she gradually realized that she was not simply a melon eater. The situation in the cultivation realm has quietly changed between her every step, and this game seems to be pushing her to become a key figure. At this moment, Jian Yao understood that she was not just here to check in, she even became one of the keys to changing the fate of this world. And whether the final elixir of true love will be her salvation, or the beginning of another, larger conspiracy, only time will tell.